Hello there everyone. Today I'm going to tie a pike fly, and this is going to be kind of like an expansion of one of the patterns that I've already made. This is going to be called the Flash Pike Streamer Mark II. It is a fairly easy, fairly nice and very well and proven pattern. This has caught me a lot of flies. We're going to use some big fly fibers, some lateral scales, some soft flash in silver, some white marabou feathers, and a pro sonic disc for the final touch on this fly. Well, first of all, we're gonna take some of this white big fly fiber, which is an unbelievably great and nice materials for pike flies. Actually, this is, well, kind of like the base material for all my pike flies, because this is just an astoundingly nice, good material for these rather large flies. So, taking my bundle of big fly fiber, as you saw, I made quite a bundle of tying thread to be absolutely 100% certain that this fly will last. It's rather toothy encounters with hopefully numerous large pikes. So like that, just tied this down here. Then I'm gonna take a bundle of soft flesh. I think it's called Pike Flesh Soft on my website. I can show you in a minute, because I think I need to take a new bundle. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna make the ends uneven, so that I don't have all the ends are exactly the same length, because if that happens, then the flesh will cling together as soon as it hits the water, and it will not look very lively. So as you saw, I pulled it out so it has a lot of different lengths, and then I'm just tying this in approximately around here. As you can see, I'm tying this fly a fairly long way up the hook shank, and well, that's basically because we're not going to use that many materials on this fly. It's going to be a fairly light fly that is going to be pretty easy to cast on most any equipment. So like that. And just to ensure this and not let any of this soft flesh go to waste, I'm just gonna take the rest of my bundle and turn it over backwards and tie it down around there. So you see, I didn't cut off, I didn't lose one single strand. I exploited every single piece of flesh, which is nice, because on pike flies you tend to use a rather large amount of materials. I'm sorry if I left my tying bench. That's just because I need to go get a new bag of soft flesh. There we go. In silver. I ran out. That happens. Then it's nice to have a whole fly tying shop just well, not around the corner, but just across from your tying bench. Well, what we're gonna do next is we're gonna take another bundle of big fly fiber, approximately the same amount as before, like so. And this we're gonna tie down here. The thread I'm using is a Vevus 0.8, which is unbelievably strong, and it's not slippery, it's not smooth, so the materials are really strongly held in place by this thread. I like this very much. Like that. Then we're going to take these red lateral scales, because this is going to be, the pattern is called the bleeding roach. a rather poetic name, I think, for a pike fly. Well, indeed, it's a very good and very proven pattern. White is one of my favorite colors, and if you can add some contrast in the form of these red flesh strands, then definitely it's the way to go. So I'm tying down these very big, very wide flesh strands individually, so I can get them exactly in the place where I want them to be. Just distribute it evenly all the way around the wing here. These have a rippled surface, which makes them very good at reflecting light. So you want some of these on, well, I would say all of your pike flies, but you don't want too many. That will simply be a bit too much. So now I have, what do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna take a 6th as well. Cutting off all these ends here. I don't need them anymore. Just applying a bit more thread to be 100% certain that these will stay where I want them to be, like so. And then I'm gonna make a dubbing loop, not a very wide one, approximately 10 centimeters or something like that. Hanging this off to the side, taking my new fresh bag of soft flesh. You can use soft flesh or you can use fleshaboo. Both these fleshaboo holographic. Both these flesh are incredibly nice looking on pike flies. What you want to do when you take out this brand new packet of soft flesh is this flesh is actually fairly long, as you can see, but it's attached to a strip. So what you do is you take your flesh and then gently you're pulling all the flesh in the strip to one side. So as you can see, this end shortens and this end lengthens. Lengthens? I think it's lengthens. Well, pardon my grammar, but English is not my native language, as you probably have noticed. And then you pull it all the way to the one end of this, because then you have this insanely long flesh that is way more usable and can be applied a lot more easily on pike flies than if you had these two not quite long enough bundles of flesh on each side of this holder in the middle. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a fairly large amount of flesh here. See, long, nice and beautiful. Cut this off all the way up there. And then I'm gonna cut this into 2 uneven lengths. So you can see I have 2 uneven lengths. I'm gonna cut this off right there. And then I'm taking each of these and pulling these so they are not completely uniform in length as well. Also doing that on the long part of this. Just pulling a little in a few fibers at a time, like so. Then I'm laying these two on top of one another. This can be a little messy, but I think I managed. Just blind cast it a bit, you see, like this, so you're sure that everything is as you want it to be, like that. Then you take your dubbing loop, put the flesh inside, and then the trick is to distribute the flesh evenly over a large area of the dubbing loop. because this is gonna be an entire hackle made from flesh. You gotta love just the sound of that. A hackle made from flesh, which this is a feature I'm using for, well, almost all my pike flies. I'm using big fly fiber on, well, all of them, and more and more I find myself tending towards using these flesh hackles instead of just tying down the flesh, you know, like in a bundle, because this adds way more life and gives the fly way more bulk and volume, so it moves more water, which and it gives it this very nice kind of like floating properties in the water, which is one of the things that pike really can't. Really likes. If you can manage to tie your fly so that it has, well, in the water, it kind of hovers and floats every time you stop stripping, then you're golden. Then you have the pike fly that will catch the pikes. Especially if it also every time you strip, the fly kind of like swings out to one side or the other side, and then just hangs there when you stop. And it's often when you're not retrieving, but when you're making one of these stops, during one of these stops, that the pike will attack it, which makes for these spectacular strikes that you definitely feel. And the big fly fiber is very nice for making the fly bob and twist and move very erratic to both sides. That is why one of the reasons why big fly fiber is such a favorite of mine, because it simply adds that effect to your fly, because it's so uneven in the texture and the structure because of this very large curly end it has. Yeah. I simply cannot stress enough how great big fly fiber is. The pikes don't stand a chance. Well, they stand a chance because I fish 100% catch and release, but they will eat my flies. They will be released, but they will eat my flies. They will eat yours as well if you do it like this. And of course, fishes in water where pikes are located. That's kind of a vital point to this fishing as well. So like that, now I'm gonna start turning this hackle. I'm holding all the flesh strands backwards, forcing them backwards before I make each turn, to make sure that they are positioned exactly where I want them to be. Oh, I can see I don't have enough tying thread up here as the base for my hackle, so I'm just gonna do that, holding everything in place and then just applying some tying thread here so my hackle will have something to rest on. Like that. Sorry for that. That was a bit sloppy of me not having done that before. I hope you can forgive me for that sloppiness. Taking everything and pointing it backwards, and then I'm all the way up here, all the way up at the eye of the... Then I take my scissors and just gently pull out all the, if any flesh strands should be trapped somewhere where they're not intended to be, kind of like combing it. Like so. Then I'm gonna make my whip finish up here. If you find yourself having trouble with the hackle not reaching all the way up to the end of this hook, then the trick for making this fly look great is to simply take a marabou feather and just making a marabou hackle. Up here, tying down the marabou in the front of the fly, and then attaching the marabou hackle all the way up at the end of the fly. This I have done, you can see, on this fly, which is exactly the same as this one. I just had a bit more room at the end, so I simply just tied it down a marabou hackle. And the final touch on this fly is, because we want this fly to move as much water as possible, for the flies to find it even in murky waters, I take one of these Pro sonic discs in red, because this is after all a bleeding roach, and attach that all the way up here in the head of the fly. This will also protect your head. Of course, we need to, before we attach this, I will of course just use a bit of varnish. Then I'm gonna take this sonic disc in the size XL and attach this here. This will move a hell of a lot of water, and also give a nice finishing touch to a nice fly. So there you have it. This is a bit too long for my taste, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut off some of this big fly fiber down here at the tail, so it's not gonna be quite as long. You can of course taper this. It's important that you don't cut straight across, but that you kind of like a hairdresser. Well, that is the profession that this is most like, I must admit, like so. And then there you have it, the Flash Pike Streamer Volume 2, or Mark 2, or yeah, 0.20, or whatever you want to call it. It's very nice, and actually it fishes a bit better than the Mark 1, because there's a bit more big fly fiber incorporated into this pattern, and also this pattern can be used for a whole variety of different stuff. I'm gonna do another video which I will upload at the same time as this one, which will show you why this pattern can, how you can apply something further to this fly to make this fly even greater than it is now. Well, those were the words. Thank you for tuning in.